This is Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and this is the Dawg Pound. Oh, I tried to be more dramatic about that. Okay, we are live on the air. We're broadcasting, and today we've got a tremendous show. Fix your fixed operations. Fixed operations are more important as a profit center to an operating department in your dealership than ever. And guess what? Everybody could stand improvement. There is vast improvement. I've got some of the experts on today. Some of the foremost people in the country. I have hand-selected the speakers today, the guest panelists. Starting from the Qvale organization, Drew Benson and Geno Walsh. Hi, guys.
How we doing? This is the one and only Drew Benson, 40 under 40 right here.
40 under 40. I'm still waiting for 80 under 80.
He says that every time.
Drew, glad to have you here. You are the technology officer, right?
Yes, sir. That's my title here.
Fantastic. So you're running technology BDC for service departments.
Yeah, our fixed operations department, doing all the digital multi-point inspection, tech video, online pay. I mean, everything you can think of that our fixed operations use now for our service department. So
Geno's just here for a cheerleader, right?
Yeah, I'm here for a cheerleader. Listen, I had this idea, and then he created the ecosystem, and that's the buzzword. Max, you can have a drink now. He created the digital ecosystem, and he did a heck of a great job doing it. So.
Okay, from Fixed Ops Digital, Owen, what do you do, Owen Moon?
Yeah, Jim, thanks for having me on today. We are a online service marketing company. We have a couple, I think, key things that we help dealerships with. First off, it's getting all those different profit centers that we're trying to make money with, get that information online, right? Start at the website, push it into Google, and then drive more paid traffic initiatives to that infrastructure. So, we've been passionately working towards that. This is our 5th year in business now, and just continuing to knock down some of those walls that we see that have been built up, over time, and just really putting a more emphasis on the fixed operations side of the business. Obviously, with companies like Geno and Drew, and then even, Bill Demaree over his group, they've been dialed in on this for a while, but there's still a lot of stores that, I have that conversation with them, and they kind of, it's like, second coming. It's like, oh man, I didn't even think of that. Right. So, just trying to be that resource for stores.
Well, Owen, I came from a top executive position in some pretty big stores, and I have zero to little knowledge about the fixed operation. Most dealers and most GMs came out of the sales department.
True.
And unfortunately, service, although it is a major profit center, takes a secondary role in most dealerships, I would say. And the empress of executive management, my friend, one of the most brilliant women in the car business, Jennifer Briggs. Hi, kid.
Hey, Jim, you're 100% spot on about the executive leadership teams just operating from their background and not understanding how important to the overall statement that service and fixed ops department is. So I'm really excited, always excited to talk about fixed ops, and I'm a huge fan of so many on the show today. So I've got my notebook and I'm ready to take notes.
Oh, I'm here to learn. I'm not going to talk that much. I'm here to learn from the guests. And the executive director of the fixed operations of the Tom Wood Group, my friend, Bill Demaree. Hi, Bill.
How is everybody?
Tell me what you do.
Which day? So it's, what I do is I have a lot of fun. I've been in this business about 37 years, and I've always enjoyed every job I've had, starting as a technician helper to the opportunity I have now to work with leaders of all of our fixed operations across the group. about 25 different businesses and get into really what's the latest, greatest, next thing out on the market. And I truly love running the number, and I appreciate being invited to the Thanksgiving table as a fixed ops guy. You know, we've been kind of over here in the little kiddie table in the corner for so many years, and now they're like, "Oh, hey, here's the fixed ops guys. We want about 24% of the gross that you produce to put to the bottom line."
Fantastic. And the resident curmudgeon, you know, you ever watch that Broomhilda? You ever see that cartoon Broomhilda? There's a guy that lives in a log. He's just two eyeballs, and he has a little called the Grebbler, and he has a sign that says "free insults." Well, if you went into the log, that would be Max Zanan, the mad Russian. Hi, guy.
Hey, Jim. I mean, listen, I feel like I am the glue, right, between the sales department, F&I department, and the service department. Because without my retention-based F&I products, service drive is never going to get as busy as it could. Just saying.
Okay, well, you got that infomercial in. Thank you. And another one of my friends from Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk, the first person the customer meets when they go into a dealership and they're there for, they're going to talk to the service advisor. And the service advisor can be a major profit center, a major stumbling block. Hello, Jeff. How is your day in Phoenix, Arizona? Is that where you're at today?
No, I'm not yet, but
Jeff,
thanks for asking. It's going great. A little bit today, which is weird for Southern California, but
you know, Jeff, your sound is clipping out on us.
sure why that is.
Yeah, you sound great now when you talk right into the microphone.
Better?
Yeah, when you don't turn your head.
Okay. Okay. Then I won't turn my head.
Keep your head straight.
Okay.
Tell us more about.
Everything's going great. It's Valentine's Day, a little bit rainy. Got, you know, that's the big focus of the day, and then writing to do this. I'm writing a new book for selling books. It's going really well, so it's pretty fun.
Jeff, your microphone is clipping in and out. We can't. Am I wrong, guys?
No, he definitely is. And what's the name of that book? I'll put it in the comment thread. Or
Yeah,
Write service and write your own paycheck.
we're currently updating. There's a lot going on out. Sound?
Jeff, we're not picking you up.
Second, go ahead with your show, and I do not know why we're having the problem I do every day, and I'm not sure. Wait, go ahead with your show, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay, we'll just wait for Jeff to get back. Let's start out with Drew Benson. Drew, you are the technology, and I haven't seen a whole lot of technology managers that manage service operations. How many stores are you managing?
Oh, we have 3 stores currently. There's one in Audi Lakeland. We have Volkswagen Brandon, and we have Alfa Romeo Maserati in St. Pete.
Fantastic. What exactly do you do? Talk to me.
So my job is to create an easy process, not only for the employees, but for the customers, right? So we want to digitize everything in the service department and get away from the paper and pencil that we used to do, right? So my job is to make it as easy as possible, train the advisors, show them how to hold themselves accountable, show them how to hold the customer accountable, and just make for better transactions, better profits, and better CSI.
Yeah, we actually coined the term transparent service, and that's how we market it. It's a transparent service process. So the entire time the customer has connectivity to the service advisor, to the technician, and then also to the service manager, they're able to not only see the videos that what repairs that are going to be requested to be done or suggested to be done, but they're also going to get a digital MPI that goes into their glove box where they can approve, defer, or decline the work. So they have control of the entire process. So it's really unique. I've never seen it before. It kind of brings the walls down. I know that we talked about this before with general managers. A lot of them have the sales experience, but not the service experience. This has turned the tool that we use, which is called Update Promise, has turned the service department's data into almost like a CRM for service. So there's a lot of correlation.
Now, is this familiar? Is this pretty much like X time?
Well, no, there's some connectivity as far as what it would be like, but it's not exactly the same execution. So this is a single portal. So a lot of the companies that are out there, they have one thing, but they don't have all the things, right? So this one has vehicle check-in. It has the ability to open up RO right in CDK. It also has the ability to send videos through it, text communication as artificial intelligence to keep the customer updated the entire time, hence the name Update Promise. And then it also has the ability to take a payment digitally, but it gives the customers that glove box so they can store all of their past data that's in there. And it gives them the opportunity to give us approved, deferred, and declined work. And if they don't have the money, they also have an opportunity to get financing through the same tool. And then it wraps around with a lifecycle management email that turns into a survey that gets posted up to a website that talks about our reviews, but also gives us a trade opportunity too. So it's one portal as opposed to a whole bunch of different ones together.
So I know you and I have spent a lot of time talking about that particular. I'm not going to call it an app. What would you call it, Drew?
I would call it like a service CRM. To be honest with you, because and some of the results are we were up on those three stores, just on two stores, we were up $1.3 million year over year just on those two stores, and our revenue was up 1.8. So the gross was up almost 1.3, and the revenue was up 1.8. So we're retaining more off of it. The process.
And you pretty well attribute that to one vendor Update Promise.
Yeah, because it's a system. It's a process. The customer goes through it every single time. It's streamlined. It's kind of, we call it the Qvale way, kind of similar to the Patriot way. Like every single advisor goes through the process, and we hold them accountable to that process. So our CSI has gone through the roof. Our effective labor rate has gone through the roof. Yeah. Our hours per hour has gone through the roof, and that's how we got there. Instead of just saying, hey, sell more service, we're like, follow the process, do the vehicle check-in, get animated on your first write-up, do your write-up the night before, come in and do your write-up when you have the vehicle check-in. Then from there, the technicians are doing world-class videos, like funny, great videos. When they first started the videos, they were like, here's your car, it needs brakes, it needs this, blah, blah, blah. Now they're like, hi, my name's Drew Benson, and I'm going to be your service technician for today. And they get really excited about it because we motivate them with some money.
So you made movie stars out of your advisors?
My
technicians.
Yeah. The advisors are they're there. They help close the process. But I'm going to tell you, like the first time we implemented this, and I knew that it was going to work with the videos and the technicians, we had a Porsche customer at our California store when we had this implemented in California before we sold out there. The advisor was like literally 2 months as an advisor. We said, follow this process. He did the vehicle check-in. He sent the car back to get the MPI. The technician does the video. He sends the video to the customer. He picks up the phone and says, what do you think? And the customer goes, go right ahead and get it all done. It was a $19,000 repair order. The service advisor about fell over because he couldn't believe how easy it was. But that video makes it so transparent for the customer that they feel like they're getting all the information and they can make that informed buying.
I don't want to do the whole show as an infomercial for Update Promise, but it sounds like a really good CRM.
Well, and I think you see some other of the big technology companies trying to follow suit. I saw a couple of other overlying. I know Cox has a whole new thing that they're going to try to put on top of everything that connects the stuff, very similar to how, Geno, you've described Update Promise. So I definitely think that it's shook up some things and got some of the big providers back in the in the product lab developing some things.
Well, we need to do more with service. Bill Demaree, what is the biggest problem we're having in service departments today? What is the biggest lack? You've got 20 stores. If I had to single out one of your underperformers, and not single out any one store, but you know who we're talking about, what would be the underlying reason that they're underperforming?
You know, I find if you ask the store, they're going to tell you they're short on techs. If you ask the data, we're going to tell you they're short on production through the store. So it's really a throughput issue over my studies. And if we can continue to do better with what we currently have, we don't necessarily need a lot more techs in the store. We need to continue grooming and training and recruiting from outside and kind of train our own, which we've opened our own university to do that. And then we're going to produce our own techs. But it's about throughput and exactly what Geno and Drew was talking about. And we happen to have the X Time suite from open to close. And we started doing the video media, text to pay, all those things about 2 years ago. And the rewards that we're seeing on it are huge. When I throw out, 27, 25, 30% net to gross on all of our stores combined as an average, that's a big number. When you go pre-COVID, before we were doing this, we were in the 10, 13, 16.5% as a group. So the amount of revenue we're able to, because we're generating more, because of the transparency of video and texting, and we're not selling anything. We're offering a product to our customers, and they're getting an opportunity to choose it. When I walk in some place to buy something, you're probably not going to sell me anything, but if you show me something really nice, I might be apt to purchase it. And that's really, I think, what has helped with the video and the pictures is we've had a bad rap over the years of some, people not doing the right thing and trying to sell things cars don't need. But if you have we're at a 93% additional sales request with the media, whether it's a picture or video attached to it, your closing percentages are going up to 36 to 40% of every ASR. You take that, what it used to be without was about a 31% closing. At a $5 million a month ask in our group, that adds up. And we're just doing better with what we have. Throughput's an issue. Production's an issue. Parts are still an issue. Finding the diagnosis, the electrical of these newer vehicles is an issue. We just got to keep pushing and pushing to get the vehicles through quicker.
I'm going to be asking you more about your service techs university in a minute. But let me go to Owen Moon for a second. Owen.
Yes, sir.
What do you see as the biggest problem in marketing service? People are not aware of service. Max will jump all over it in a minute because say most dealers don't feature service on their website.
Yeah, it definitely comes down to marketing. It's always you kind of get what you ask for, right? And when we only in the past have been asking for 10% off oil changes, coupons, or $10 off a service, that's kind of what you're going to get, right? So, and a lot of the strategies that we've seen for service in the past have been very retention based, going after your DMS and people, past customers, and taking it even as far as those lost customers and trying to get them back in the store. So those are all great, and I think there's a place for them still. Online, though, you've got to change your mentality, right? It's got to be more about information. It's about educating consumers, giving them those recommendations, and then being transparent with your pricing. I loved Geno's comment about transparent service. I mean, that's really what we push online on the website, because a lot of those customers that are coming to your website are shopping you, right? It's after warranty's been exhausted, and now they're into a customer pay scenario, and nobody wants to overpay for service. I know I don't, because all it really does is get you back to even, right? I always say, hate paying for things that get me back to even. Well, service is one of those deals. So they're going to look for opportunities to save money. And so we may not always be the cheapest as the franchise dealership, but if we can sell some of the other value props, like the equipment that we have, our facility, our technicians, all those different things that go into play on to make a good decision, that's going to help us to win that business, even though we might be, a little more expensive in the long run. So just trying to get some of that information out to consumers in a way that is valuable to them is really what I see as a huge potential today. With 20,000 car dealers out there.
Well,
Okay,
I
so
just want to piggyback on what Owen said, because for the dealers and marketers that are listening today, as Google, if you read the last dealer guidebook, what was it, 2.5? Google is transitioning to this 0-click search engine results page. So basically, they want you as a business to present that information so they can answer the question on that very first page, even without someone clicking. So it's going to get to where it's not just important to provide that information on your website, but having good content about your fixed operations so you can answer those questions. It's really interesting because sometimes it's between an impression, because they'll see you in a featured snippet, but you should see the amount of traffic flowing through. It's going to be huge. They're already changing so much what that search engine results or the SERP page looks like. And it's only going to get worse. So
Owen Moon, Google My Business.
Yes.
Tell me Google profiles. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge opportunity. Obviously most dealerships today probably have a service GPP, Google Business Profile. But is it optimized, right? Do you have all your products listed?
Do you have the service department as a separate department?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even collision. I mean, I talked about that in another show. Is that if you can, and this takes a little more work with the city and all that stuff. It can be done if you're not necessarily, your collision department isn't connected to your store. Can you get a different address for that as well? That's another huge way to get more of that profit center. I think that's kind of from a marketing standpoint. We look at it more like, if I wanted to sell a used truck, I might have 30 different strategies that I could put in place to sell that used truck. The challenge I see with right now is that every profit center inside the fixed operations is kind of a standalone scenario. So if you want to sell more tires, it's not just about putting more money at marketing to tires. It's actually, do you have the infrastructure? Do you have an e-com play? Is there, what are you doing to kind of Geno and Drew's point, having software that can help with some of that? Obviously, we still are in a very, I'd say, wild west in some ways over here, because a lot of the technology hasn't been around forever. So it's taking those tire strategies and not only bringing them to life on marketing, but then also bringing them to life at the store level. Same thing with accessories. These are all areas where I don't think dealerships have even scratched the surface on what they could be offering customers.
You just hit Max's hot button. Max, accessory sales.
Well, I mean, listen, before we get to accessory sales, right? I think what everybody here is talking about is tactical solutions. So why don't we talk about strategy first, right? Because no update promise or X time is going to save you, because the fish rots from the head, right? So unless your dealer principal, general manager, or a working partner understands fixed ops, none of this stuff matters, right? And because 97% of GMs, dealer principals, and partners came up through sales.
I think it's 97.6.
Right. Thank you.
I pulled that right out of my anatomy, same as you did.
It is really, really a scary statistic, right? And I guarantee you that if you wake up any general manager in the middle of the night and ask them how much money they spend on advertising per car, they will know the answer. The answer will be on the tip of their tongue. But then you wake them up an hour later and say, how much per repair order, customer pay, labor, repair order do you spend on advertising? And you get a blank stare, right? Just a blank stare, no number, right? If you ask a general manager, what is the formula for service absorption? You just get a blank stare. There's no answer, right? And forget the hours per repair order or the fill rate on the shelf in the parts department. So we have to start with a strategy where the dealer principal understands that fixed ops is as important as the variable operations. And unless you put them on the equal standing, right, you will never have the ultimate benefit of being
I
a
would
franchise.
say it's more important, Max.
Go
Do
ahead.
you
It's
agree
more
with
important.
Max?
Well, look what is popping up over the last 5 years. Fixed ops directors, right? That wasn't even a position in the dealership 5 years ago, 6 years ago in a lot of cases. What it is, it's exactly your point, Max. People that are coming up not in service are leaning on someone that understands it and then putting them in charge of 15 stores or 10 stores, whatever that number is, and they're the ones that are setting the strategy, bringing in the technology, the marketing, the process. They're trying to
Right.
find those right individuals, and
Jennifer,
those aren't always easy.
Jennifer, how many times have you attended my general manager session and heard me say that I don't know fixed operations, but I always covered my weaknesses?
At least 7 times.
At
At
least.
least 7 times.
Dealers and general managers, when I teach a class on general manager, I don't know fixed operations, but I always covered my weakness by having somebody, as Owen just pointed out, by having that director, that expert there. And then I would actually hire a consultant to watch the expert.
Right. Yeah, because that's where Max's point saying that the dealer needs to have it as a priority is very true. Do they need to know the ins and outs? No, they need to make sure that they have inspection points for the talent they've hired and then let that person do their job.
Yeah, can I chime in on that? They need to know what questions to ask. And if they don't know the questions to ask, that's where they can get in trouble. They don't need to know all things fixed ops. They need to have a good service director, have a good group director like myself that can kind of help bridge that gap, because I'll find sometimes it's a personality conflict between a service director and the GM. They're not communicating well. And I can speak to their language of the closing ratios that I'm quoting. And Max, you brought it up on the F&I. If you ask them, what's your penetration in F&I, they know it like that. When I'm asking, what is our ASR closing percentage in your shop? They don't. Now, our group knows now because I present it every month and they know exactly where they're at. But when you can speak their language, then they get it and they understand that you sell cars, we sell parts and hours. It's really the same thing. The value of your car versus the value of the hour that's coming out of that shop. It's the same thing, except for I hold more gross than you do on the car.
Yeah,
Joe Malloy, one of my favorite dealers, Joe Malloy says, I truly believe most dealers realize the importance of fixed operations. It is what most 20 groups spend their time on. Okay, the importance of fixed operations and understanding fixed operations, I would say, are two different things.
Exactly.
Would you agree with that, Geno?
I definitely agree with it. Well, the correlation I think that Bill was talking about from sales to service, I always looked at service advisors as F&I managers. Like I've always looked at them as F&I managers. And the reason why, although Max is right that those tools, X-Time or Update Promise or CDK Edge, aren't going to just sell the products for you, they are a much different way to deliver that product presentation to the consumer, right?
And to measure the results.
And to measure the results now. So
I
there's
mean,
no more.
Jim, you know how hard it was for Geno to say that Max is right.
But no, I agree with him on the point that, like, if you don't have the 3 C's, the commitment to the process, the consistent reporting like Bill does, like we do on a weekly basis, where we're tracking those metrics that are correlation metrics. We have a revenue capture report, which shows how many items are presented. Go ahead, go over.
Basically, the recommended services that we're offering, how much revenue are we capturing out of those recommended services, right? So we have a percentage, we have a baseline of what the average is with the group, and then we can see by specific advisor who's leading the board. So how much are we offering and how much are we getting approved?
And then we rank order them and send the email out, right? And then you get some real activity pushes on those service advisors and the managers who are holding those service advisors accountable. right? We look for things like, especially in this tool, is we want to see deferred services, right? What we don't want to see is no responses, right? We want customers to go into that glove box and we want them to either put a deferred service or an approved service. If it's a deferred service, then we can sit there and go, hey, this, right, Max, to your point, this F&I manager is terrible at closing road hazard. Well, this service advisor is terrible at closing on brake jobs. So we need to bring him back into the shop, so to speak, right? Pardon the pun. And we need to work with him on role playing how to close on that job that we're selling. We do all grid pricing. We don't sell by the hour anymore. We sell by the job. And so if you have the right video and you have the right technology, then you should have a commensurate closing rate versus your peers that are doing the same job function. Doesn't matter which brand it is.
Drew Benson, refused service. Does it measure that?
Like deferred service or refused service would be the same thing.
Refused service.
Decline service.
Yeah. We, like he's saying, the no responses means that we don't know if they approved it or declined it. It's just left blank.
That's
But
no response.
Exactly, and no response. But we can see the approves, we can see the deferred, and then we can see the advisor that has the most number of no responses and immediately go after that advisor.
That's where I was headed with that.
Exactly.
Can you game the system?
No, you actually, so if you don't do the no responses, you can't, like if you have too many no responses, you're not gaming the system. You're out there, you're on the table, so to speak, Jim. You know what that's like, right? Moon River. So you're out on the table right there. Everybody's seen Fletch before. So, but you're on the table, right? Everybody can see what's going
You're on the table, okay.
If you're not following the process, it kind of shows pretty quickly.
Well, you're mad at money.
It shows, yeah, you're mad. We call it don't be mad at money, right? Because people are mad at money because they don't want to follow the process. Yeah. And inevitably, everybody who follows the process has the highest CSI and then has the highest production rate and then has the highest paycheck. So
jump in there, Bill.
Yeah, I agree. And I love this because that's part of why we created the Tomwood University is exactly A, we want to train our own techs, but B, we're measuring our closing ratio by advisor and exactly what you said. If we have somebody that's not selling brakes, they're closing at 12, 13%, we have somebody closing at 80, we're going to pull that individual from the store and retrain them and see if there's an opportunity to get them better. I'm fortunate enough as well. I have a guy that is a DMS specialist / trainer. So he has it's a scorecard and a rock that he has that any advisor that's lower than 40% is identified on a weekly meeting with myself. And we roll out exactly who these advisors are so we can get out to them and help them to become better. And if we can get their closing ratio, even if it's up 5%, 10%, that's very meaningful in the store and meaningful to them and to the customer from the transparency. If we're not offering a product, especially brakes or something safety, and they're declining it, because they simply don't understand because it wasn't presented the way the process spelled out, then we're losing. But I also challenge anybody that if you're going to hold your team responsible, you better have a job description laid out of exactly what is expected out of them at the end of the day. And we cannot hold our team members accountable if we don't have a process laid out that they know what a good job looks like. That's something we've rolled out over the last 6-8 months to make sure that everybody clearly understands what's the expectation and what's going to happen if you fall short is we're going to pull you from the store and try to retrain you.
Jill Malloy, have we answered your question, Jill? I know Jill Malloy is one of my favorite dealers. She's attended a lot of our internet seminars. I wonder, she says that most dealers realize the importance of fixed operations. And I agree with it. We know it's important, but that doesn't mean we have the tools to fix it, the attitude or the knowledge to fix it. Is that a pretty accurate statement?
And Jim, I can illustrate your point. How many general managers have their office in the service drive as opposed to the showroom? And that's your answer about the importance of fixed ops. I would say that 98% of GMs have their office in the showroom or on the second floor, completely removed from both showroom and the service drive.
Well, the show is a little more glamorous than the
Of course. But the money, right? Like Bill is saying, the the margins on parts and labor are unbelievable, right? No showroom can come close to these margins. I don't care if you sell Rolls Royces, right?
80% plus in labor.
Right, but I'm saying, like, if you really want to understand fixed ops, you have to put your GM in the service drive. That's what the office should be. And you should change the business hours of the GM. He should come in at 7:30 when service opens, right? I'll give you another example. Every Saturday morning, and Geno will confirm this, right? General managers or general sales managers have a sales meeting where they train their salespeople on how to handle customers, how to handle objections, how to sell more cars, right? Before they hire any trainer, it's part of their job description to train their sales staff. How come the same people then do not go to the service drive to train their service writers how to handle objections, how to handle customers, and how to increase their closing ratio? Right?
Well, Max, honestly, I have consulted literally hundreds, if not 1,000 dealerships where I had input into the processes. And we always had a save a deal meeting with the managers of the variable departments, but we also had a daily or 3 times a week meeting. I got this from Cecil Van Tile with the fixed operations managers.
But Jim, this is an exception. That's not a rule.
Well, Max,
we're talking
always
best
have
practices here.
exceptions as guests on the show. I'm not going to debate you on that. You're always telling us it's utopian. We have the best of the best on the show for a reason. So then the question, I think I'll flip it to make it where it's better for those folks who are watching that don't already have it in place. You know, with Geno and Bill, who are top of the line operators when it comes to the fixed department, how can a one rooftop or a smaller group take advantage of some of these things? Maybe it is as simple as what Max is saying, and they run a morning sales meeting going back over. But what are some things that you could share as actionable tips to some of the smaller operators?
Great idea. Start with Geno. Geno, actionable tips, one rooftop, small operation. What is the biggest challenge?
Okay, so consistency is greater than intensity. This is probably one of the biggest things that an operator forgets. They get really excited. They go to NADA, they go to a 20 group, they go to some conference where they find out about some really cool thing, or they're watching Jim Ziegler right now, and they get really excited about it. And then they do it, the first week, and then they do it the second week, and then the third week they went to, some other thing, and then the fourth week no one's talking about it anymore. For us at our store, we have consistent meetings. So every Monday and every Friday, we do a service meeting with each one of the service technicians, our regional service manager, our service DC, and our general manager. And we talk about
that was the Van Tile formula. That came out of the Van Tile organizations.
I never worked for them, but I know that communication is the most important thing as long as it's consistent and it's at the right time. So it's kind of like that checkup from the neck up every single Monday and every single Friday. And we look at our forecast and we look at where we're pacing. And then we talk about these two things. But I think here's the biggest tip. Stop looking at efficiency, look at productivity times efficiency, and that'll tell you what your shop's actually producing. And that'll tell you whether or not you need to get more technicians or you need to cut some technicians, right? Especially if you're in a state that has unions or you have to pay hourly, right? Because what we look at is hopefully we have somebody in the stall that's got a job in their hand 90% of the time, right? And we multiply that by their efficiency, and it better be 110 and above, right? So if I got 90 times 110, that's not 9,900. That's the baseline. Everything north of that is where I want to see it, because I know how great the productivity of that shop is, how the throughput is, as Bill said earlier. Anything that gets over 12,000 points on that scale, I need to hire another technician. If I'm at 6,500 points on that scale, I need to figure out what the heck I'm doing wrong in that service lane and not adding some more throughput, like Bill said, or I need to probably cut a couple technicians, which is kind of a no-no in this world. But some people like to just grab as many technicians as they can, and they don't care about the expense. So,
Bill Demaree, I know for a fact that several of the major manufacturers and two of the domestics included are about to launch major audits on. I mean, they have hired more auditors and they're training auditors right now. How do most stores stand on an audit right now?
You know, I'm glad you asked. That's a great question. And I've been preparing for this for since COVID, because I knew this was going to happen.
You know it's coming, don't you?
They don't want dealers to make money. So one of the things I think is really cool is we have our warranty administrators every Friday. They audit a handful of repairers, about 50 warranty tickets, and they document where the shortfall is, whether it's a missed signature, whether it's a tech didn't sign off, we're missing some clock. And not only do they log this down, they put a value of that ticket to it. So every Friday, this audit gets emailed to the service manager, the general manager, myself, and Mr. Wood. So he knows how much.
Mr. Wood himself, oh boy.
So he knows the potential chargeback of that week for that store. And I can tell you,
what a great process.
It is. And the list used to be really long, and now it's really short. Now we're really nitpicking some
You're
stores.
doing miniature self-audits.
We are. And I learned that through my Porsche store about 3 years ago when they decided they didn't like me. And that one hurt. And after that one hurt, I said, it's not going to ever happen again. And we put this process across the group. They can audit us. I know they're coming, and we're ready.
One of the regional managers for one of the big domestics recently confided to one of my dealers who it wasn't very confidential, he told me. But anyway, he confided to one of the dealers that, hey, that particular manufacturer is going to have a swarm of audits coming in the beginning of the second quarter. When everybody's down, the summer break, the second quarter, audits are going to be all over at least two of the domestics.
Yeah, they're coming.
Have you heard that as well?
I have. And they're coming. We're ready, and we'll take them.
I know. I'm pretty sure that some of the imports are going to do the same thing. Geno?
Yeah, well, what we do here a little bit different, I think kind of it helps us, is that we pay less on warranty work. So the service advisors' percentages are a lot less on warranty than they are on customer pay. So they're focusing more on customer pay as opposed to trying to figure out.
There's only three kinds of service work.
Yeah, that's right.
There's warranty work, customer pay, and recon.
And internal. Yep.
And recon. How about recon?
Well, internal, same thing.
Yeah.
So, but when they focus on that, obviously they're not focused on how they can game the system for the warranties. But we, again, just like Bill, we're following through and we cross our T's and dot our I's. We have really good warranty admins at our store, and our regional service manager, Christine, she does an amazing job of keeping everybody in line with that.
Owen Moon, what can you contribute to this conversation?
You know, you look at it, and I love being a student here, because obviously not being in the service departments every day, I learn a lot with guys like Bill and Geno and Drew. I would say marketing is the last thing, right? I've seen too many times where, and we're notorious in this industry for this, where we get excited and the first thing everybody wants to do is throw it out up on the website. You know, oh, we do pickup and delivery. Oh, we do mobile service. But let's get the process down right and make sure we're dedicated to it before we turn it into a marketing campaign. And so, you know, this is a little out of my wheelhouse in terms of process and things like that. But what I'm hearing is there's a lot that goes behind the scenes to make a fixed operations department really function efficiently and effectively. And marketing, if you throw more people into that environment that's not good, you're just going to complicate things. But I think that's where I get most excited about, is that we are putting a lot of emphasis on operation side and using technology and things like that. And when we can get that right, then we can turn on levers and faucets to drive more into that.
We're going to have a lot more shows on fixed ops here at the Dawg Pound.
100%. You need to, because it's going to be the only thing. Well, not the only thing. It's going to be one of the main things that dealerships can control, you know, in coming years, for sure.
So,
And
Jim,
the-
I'd like to elaborate on what Bill said. I work with an audit group that has an internal audit department, and they audit everything. They audit their finance managers, they audit their service departments from the OSHA perspective, and they also audit their service departments from the warranty chargebacks from the manufacturer. But the difference is that they have unlimited power, meaning when they come in to audit, they issue fines as if they were working for OSHA or FTC or for the manufacturer. And then the dollar amount, the actual dollar amount of the fine gets charged back from that P&L statement. And everybody feels it. The general manager, the service manager, the finance manager, everybody does. And let me tell you something, it works like a charm.
It does. I've worked for groups like that before. I will go out on a limb and agree with Max. I know this is weird. I
is
have worked
crazy.
for groups where we've done that exact same structure and a separate department. Everybody had skin in the game, not just the dealer principal or the GM paid on the bottom line when it came to those audits.
I just wrote that down, Max. I'm going to consider that. I like.
Hey, Bill, let me ask you, do your service writers sell service contracts?
Some of our stores, they do. You know, we have our own contract, service contract company, so it makes it a little bit more challenging to do. But yes, we do. We sell them on the drive. Back in my days of writing service, I was the #1 service advisor on selling contracts. I won every trip Chrysler ever put out on selling contracts. I was all in.
Geno, same question.
Maintenance is probably one of the bigger things that they sell rather than the full service contract, but they do a TO.
You've got a lot of Audi stores. Yeah, maintenance is big.
Yeah, maintenance is huge. We have to be at 90% plus just for.
Because it's not charge backable.
Yeah, well, it's not charge backable, but you know, Audi makes us be at 90% and above. Otherwise, we lose a percentage, half a point off of our back end. So it's important for us. But more importantly, when the customer comes in, it gives that customer a better experience because it's a subsidized program by a lot. So it's almost like Groupon. Same thing with when we sell the Term Care Select, which I think is probably one of the better products that we sell up in the front. It takes care of alignments and brake pads, and then a whole bunch of different ancillaries that are in between what maintenance covers and what the service contract covers. And that's two of the items I think that they sell the most, right, Drew? What else do they sell?
It's the road hazard. They're gonna sell. They're gonna do this off handover, but it's the Audi Care, the VW Care. I mean, all their stores. It's those maintenance packages that come in the beginning of the life cycle, right? But then
what volume are the service writers selling? That service advisors selling that? Are they selling a lot of
I would say
volume?
at the Audi store, 50% of our Audi Care contracts are coming from the service advisors.
Really?
It might be higher because we get credit, because the Audi Lakeland store is kind of a new point, since it was open in 2017, and we got so many people moving to what we call the Lampa market, which is Orlando, Lakeland, and Tampa.
So these are like imported customers.
Yeah, they're all coming from up north.
They didn't buy the car from you, so your sales department didn't miss it.
We didn't miss it in the sales department. We missed it. We got an opportunity to improve the customer's experience by selling it to them on their first.
It's true. The most dealerships that we have seen, over 50% of most service departments, the customer didn't buy the car from you.
That's right. Yep.
And the conquest opportunities for new business, where the service department can generate new business in the sales department, is because most of those customers in the service department bought their car elsewhere.
It can ruin your next car experience too, though. If you have a really bad service experience, remember the first car sold in sales, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and so on and so forth is always sold in service. If they have a bad service experience, they're probably more than likely never coming back.
Right.
I'm sure Bill and his team at Tom Wood is similar to us, where we're service first. We're always service first. Like, what means we don't make any discounts. So if they want to get their cars through the shop real fast, well, they got to pay freight.
That's right. Well,
You said, go ahead, Bill.
you want to know how many customers you lose by an independent store, and then run the data of how many of your brands. We own a Big O tire store, and I monitor how many of our brands, newer brands, are coming through there, and then feed it back to the store and show what you're losing. It's a big
a service manager when I was still a salesman told me something that has stuck with me all the years. He said, when you have a heat case on the service to drive, first of all, isolate the people, get them in your office, and have a bathroom size mirror behind the service manager's desk. People will not show their ass and act up if they see themselves in the mirror.
That's true.
People that see themselves in the mirror will.
That was when they used to smoke inside and drink bourbon too.
Yeah. If you've got a full-size mirror behind the service manager's desk, it's less likely that the people will act up and continue to rant and rave.
I do got a question on that, guys. Talking a little bit about service sells the second and the third. What we haven't really touched on service to sales, that experience. What are you guys finding that is important to make that work? I've seen some dealerships have mixed results, so love to hear from from Geno and Drew and Bill. From your guys' organizations, are you doing anything specifically? Have you hired people just to sell out of the service lane? What are you seeing out there that's been kind of effective on your end?
We do a couple. It depends on our store. Our I have to say it appropriately. Our Minnesota store. You got to put the accent in there. Our Minnesota store does a really nice job. So they have a team that works the service drive, and they'll have lined up vehicles for test drives as they're kind of coming through the drive. They do probably our number one in the group. We also have a feature in our X time on declined services. So we put a dollar amount threshold. If somebody declines over $2,000 worth of repair, it will send a text alert to the used car manager that you have a specific vehicle in the shop and they're declining work. And then it gives them an opportunity to come back and offer a free appraisal. We've also done it to where we've staffed the drive and offered free appraisals on every car, no matter what, as they come through, which is something we're looking at doing right now across our entire group. We should have something. It's a new product. I can't talk about it right now, but there's an opportunity we have that we're going to be offering appraisals on every single car that comes through service in 60 days.
Yeah, very similar to Bill. I mean, we've had people work, obviously, the equity mining tools and looking at the pre-writes from the day before. There's a lot of, you got to pay your service advisors too. Let's put that out there.
100%.
If you don't pay your service advisor to TO the customer, they're probably not going to TO. So it depends. Depends on what state you're in. Some states won't let you do the bird dogs, but Florida's pretty cool, and we can do the bird dogs here. Because literally, honestly, the service advisor gets paid off of selling the customer pay RO.
Correct.
And the moment we took it in on trade, it turns into internal.
Yeah.
He's not happy or she's not happy, right? So you got to make sure that you spiff your service advisor if you want to get that connectivity going, right? So that's
got to be a team effort.
It's got to be a team effort. But in Update Promise, every time a customer, like I was telling you before, an RO closes, they get an instantaneous text message to give us a short review. When they do that short review, two things happen. That review goes to a review board that's SEO content galore. And then the second thing that happens, it asks them, would you like an appraisal on your car? So it's a hand raiser, and it's post that sale. So then what a used car manager or a new car manager or any of the sales managers do, since it's in a digital place and it has all that information, the vehicle check-in, it's got the video of the car, it knows exactly what the car looks like. It knows has the VIN number, has the miles, has what work was done to it. We can make a strategic targeted appraisal to that customer based upon that information that's in there. So
I invented a stamp. I get almost ready. I invented a stamp that was incredible when I was still in F&I, and the stamp went right on the RO, a big stamp. I don't know how we could print it today. It says, caution, your factory warranty is about to expire. See service advisor immediately for renewal. What a
Yeah.
strong, we sold so many service contracts. Caution, your
Yeah.
factory warranty is about to expire. See,
You should be able to pre-program that with your laser printer for the
Yeah.
majority of the DMS systems. But I want to share a tip for dealers that are not the size of Geno and Bill and aren't able to build their own technologies. And I want you to look at something you're already paying for, but you probably don't use it for your fixed department. And that is your CRM. Almost every CRM has appointment reminder processes, both for sales and service reminders.
most
So
dealers
you
aren't
may
using
not
that,
be-
Jennifer.
Oh yeah, I use it with all my dealers. We use it. So we actually start prospecting 3 days before the service appointment on our target vehicles that we would like to acquire. We practice a strategy with it rather than trying to get a number and get in front of every single consumer. We're being very strategic about the cars that we're targeting. Now, some of the stores I work with want a chance for everything, but and doing it, of course, like Geno said, when you have the video, you have all of that is awesome. But I've always found it's best to strike the customer is there while the car is there, to be able to put that number on it and get them out of there. So if you don't have a whole team or an additional software, please take a look, because I know all the major CRM companies can do this. And it's something that just takes a little bit of time for you to set up and train your team on. And it is huge.
Every CRM's got it. One last question. Geno and Bill, and of course, Drew. Drew, open recalls. Drew, open recalls.
Yeah, we do that. We try to market those in the service BDCs first and get them in, and then we do a multi-point inspection and video on every car that comes in. So we want to target those with our marketing, and we want to make those phone calls to people that are in our PAI, right?
Yep.
And then we want to do a multi-point inspection and a video on each one of those cars so we can show them, hey, we took care of this, but also you have a leaking whatever, or you need this
Aren't we doing
maintenance.
the text
But
campaign?
Drew, this is only
Yeah.
assuming you have the parts for the recall.
Oh yeah, that's a big
recall. You lose the customer forever.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we're not going to call somebody if the parts aren't available. But yeah, luckily,
please
our
don't.
manufacturers
Please
will
don't.
tell you the repair's not available at the time or parts not available. It will let us know that. But there's a lot of them for Volkswagen or Volkswagen stores. There's a lot of software updates, and they're little, piddly ones that are just annoying. But at the same time, if we can put a good MPI and a good video process around that, and also, use our text messaging to communicate to these customers. Nobody, our service BDC has changed so much where not a lot of people pick up the phone anymore, right? There's a lot of make a phone call, leave a message, but then if you're not following up with that text message, if you're not trying to reach out to these people the way they want to be communicated, then you're not going to reach them anyways.
And that's the important thing, is to get a really compliant system that will make sure that you're able to text message those consumers with an opt-out, right? And if you're not doing that, you're hurting yourself, because remember, texting, it's a 98% open rate on text.
Bill,
Email, it's like
recalls.
Yeah, so we use a couple different features. We're also doing mobile recall now through our Ford store coming to you. We just teamed up with a company called Busy Car. I met Busy Car just prior to NADA, and I'm working an exclusivity deal with them right now. Yeah, Busy Car. It's a new platform. They're kind of unique. They're going after the fleet market to bring you data that we just don't have inside our database. That seems to be doing I think it's going to do a nice job for us on the open recall market. But like Max said, you got to make darn sure those parts are available, because that is an issue in the recall department. But it is a big business. We also teamed up with Valvoline, all the Valvoline quick centers. 100% of them in Indianapolis drive their business to my stores for a recall. So if they go through their system tags it through Dynatron. Dynatron flags a recall.
Whoa,
it comes from
great
Valvoline
idea.
under my letterhead and goes to the customer. So, and I pay them a little small referral fee.
Okay,
Wow.
we are at the end of our 1 hour show. I mean, Max, we've already blown it out. We had one heck of a great show. I want to thank Geno and Drew. I want to thank Owen Moon, Bill Demaree, and of course, Max Zanan and Jennifer Briggs, both brilliant women in the car business and the resident curmudgeon. And anyway, everybody wave goodbye to the audience.